All right. So as far as our course outline and schedule, we are supposed to go back to our lectures on Microsoft Word, complete those, and then finish off the remaining few that were left for Excel. And then with PowerPoint, there are only 2 lectures. So we are going to start with finishing off the lectures regarding Word, Excel, and then PowerPoint, just like we went through during our session. But in terms of where we are currently in week 9. So if you look at your screen, we are in this week here that has been highlighted in red with that line. So at this point, actually, this is the week that you are meant to write the Excel test on Moodle, but unfortunately, we only just wrote the test 1, meaning our dates for the tests have slightly shifted. And like I said before you left, the dates for Excel and PowerPoint have already been uploaded to Moodle. So if we go to Moodle quickly, we should be able to see those dates. So let me just remove this so that we can see our dates. Nope, that's our assignment. Hold on. So test 2, which is based on Excel, will go live Saturday, 1st of May. So you have roughly about 2 to 3 weeks. No, 2 weeks. So you have this week and next week to prepare for this test. I believe there should be 6 slides, if not 8 slides, that you need to read through to prepare for this one. So in terms of asking questions, you are more than welcome to ask questions. However, we are going to be using Zoom so that we do not talk over each other. So if you've got a question, there's a feature within Zoom that says raise your hand. When your hand is raised up, I can see your name, and then I will allow you to unmute your mic, and then you can ask your question. So for Excel, there are 8 lectures, but if you've gone through these, you'll see that these ones are less than those that were for Word. Word was very, very detailed. Excel assignments, lectures rather, are very, very brief, so they shouldn't be that long. So do we have any questions from the group? You can lift your hands up. Okay, no hands up, meaning we are together. So that's the test coming in 2 weeks. It's based on Excel. And then you can also check Moodle for test 3. So with that being said, let's quickly dive straight into lecture 4, which is where we left off when we were discussing Word. So for lecture 4 in Word, we are looking at paragraph formatting. So by the end of this lecture, we are going to look at formatting paragraphs, specifically how to move or to use indentation. We are also going to look at line spacing in text and in between paragraphs, creating and formatting a bullet point list, creating and formatting a numbered list, and also how to create and modify a multi-level list, as well as modifying our tabs. So by looking at the key objectives that we are looking at, I already know that the tab that we are going to be looking at involves all the commands that are going to be within the home tab, and specifically our paragraph group. So in terms of our software orientation, we are going to look at most, if not all, the commands within the paragraph dialog box, and we can see this in Word. So I'll open up my Word software in a moment. So we are going to look at paragraph alignment, indentation, spacing, as well as other line features that you would have when formatting your paragraphs. So before this, and I know most of you know how to open Word. For me, I have it pinned to my taskbar. So I'll just quickly open it up from my taskbar. And from the time that you are here, we said that there are various ways in which you can open up your Word document. And you can either search for it in your start menu or browse to the location where it's stored, or use the start application where it has been listed under W. So in terms of our software orientation, we are looking at the home tab, specifically the paragraph group. Now within this paragraph group, these are all the commands that we are looking at that allow us to modify or edit our paragraphs within our Word documents. And this is the dialog box launcher that you click to see additional commands that you can't see explicitly within the paragraph tab. So when you open that dialog box launcher, you have your paragraph commands, and then we have two tabs. We have the Indents and Spacing tab, and those commands that deal with line and page breaks as well. And you can see here at the bottom, we also have another section for our preview. But most of the commands that you typically format or choose or configure will be within the indent and spacing. So we have the general section, indent and spacing. And these have different drop-down menus that allow you to choose different options and a preview at the bottom as well. So that's your paragraph dialog box launcher that allows you to modify and format your paragraphs. So paragraph formatting is essential part of the creative, effective, professional looking document. So the way in which you are going to be creating your documents will differ, and the format that you use from document to document will also differ. For example, the formatting styles that you use for a paragraph in a formal letter will be different from those that you use in a CV or from those that you use when creating your minutes. So when a document is formatted properly and the text is spaced and positioned, the reader can then focus on the content. Word's paragraph formatting features lets you determine the paragraph alignment, indention, and spacing between paragraphs, and you can also remove paragraph formatting altogether. Now, one thing to note here that has stood out is the second point. When a document is formatted properly, the text is spaced and positioned properly, meaning the reader can then focus on the content. This speaks into almost all the assessments that you will be submitting, as well as your final year project. You wouldn't want to submit a document that has got no creativity or it doesn't look professional at all. You might be degraded or might even Seth, yes, I know Zoom is very nice. Can you stop annotating your screen, because now we see what you are annotating. Yippee365, can you edit your username to what your real name is, because in the registers, this will not match any student record. Emmanuel Chunga, are you able to see the screen? You can unmute your mic and speak. Are you able to see? Okay, silence means he's probably able to see.
Yes, can I see, madam?
Okay, perfect. So I was saying, whenever you are submitting your assignments, the way in which you present your work can actually affect marking. So if you submit something that has got content and text all over the place with no clear, coherent formatting, you might get marked with lower grades just because you didn't format your work properly. So the moment you submit something and it's nicely formatted, at least that will motivate the person who's marking, typically your tutors or your lecturers, to focus on the content rather than discrediting you for the work that you have submitted because it doesn't look organized. So rather than setting up yourself for failure, always format your documents properly. If you forget to do any other formatting in your documents, at least justify your text. Make sure that the font is of the same type. Even if you are going to be copying and pasting your work from different sources on the internet, at least for the bare minimum, justify your text, and then also ensure that your font is consistent. We don't want one section of the document having Times New Roman, another line has got Calibra, then another line has got Arial, and they're of different font sizes. So ensure the font size is also correct. Then we move on to looking at indents. So just like we learned in basic English up to grade 12, you would always indent your first paragraph. So depending on which format that you are following, we have some indentation rules that borrow from everyday English. And you can also use those same rules and apply them to your documents by using your indent commands or lines. Now, the way that you indent this is you would use the tab bar on your keyboard, or you would use your ruler at the top part, which I'll show you in a moment, to make your indentions. So an indent is basically a blank space inserted between text and the left or right margin. The first line indent inserts a blank space between the left margin and the first line of the paragraph, and a hanging indent begins the first full line of the text in the paragraph at the left margin. All the remaining lines in the paragraph are then indent from the left margin. So we also have negative indents. Now, when we do negative indenting now, this goes way beyond the area within which you are allowed to write your documents. For example, when you have a piece of paper, they're usually grid lines, though not visible when you have them disabled in Word, where you are allowed to write. Now, the moment you want a bit more space to fit more content in your document, what you can do is extend where your margins go, or move your indent rulers at the top. And we shall show this in a moment. So let me just do a bit of stock taking, because I'm receiving a lot of messages saying you can't hear me. So if I read out your name, kindly just respond that you can hear me. Crispin Tembo, can you hear me? Crispin?
Yes, I can hear you, madam.
Okay, so for those that can't hear, the recordings will always be uploaded to YouTube, so you can always rewatch and you will be able to follow through and catch up. So for all those that are having audio issues, the video will be uploaded so that you can revise. So we've looked at paragraphs a bit, though not in detail, and then indents. So we shall see this in a moment. So now for our first step-by-step exercise, we are going to open up a file called Books Beyond. This is instruction number 4. Locate and open a file name, Books Before, and then we are going to click in the View tab. And then in the show group, we're going to check a box that says display the ruler, although mine are already enabled. And then we are going to select the paragraphs under acknowledgement. So we are going to first start by going to Word itself, which is this. And then we are going to open up our exercise file called Books Beyond for lecture number 3. And by now, we should know the steps that we need to take to open up a file in Word. So I'm just browsing to the location where my student files are stored, which is here, Word, Student Lecture 4, and then Books Beyond is the file name that we are looking for. So here, this is the document we are working with. Now, under our instructions, we are meant to go to the View tab, so which is here at the top. And what we are looking for are our ruler options. Now, when I disable that, my rulers If you notice all the way at the top, those disappear, and the ones to my left as well. So to enable them, you simply go to the View tab and click your ruler. I can also show my navigation pan or my grid lines. So for now, disable the navigation pan. So when I click my grid lines, you see the area within which I am allowed to enter text. So if I go through all the way, you see that no information is seeping through towards my left here and towards my right here. So I think for easy following, let me also change the color of my mouse. Okay, I think that one is fine. Okay. So anything to my right is fine, and anything set to my left doesn't protrude. So meaning this is your allowable area. And then we have these two, actually there are two options that allow me to navigate and switch things. So if I hover over the first one at the top, this one gives me my first line indent. At which point do I want the first line of my paragraph to be indented? And you see that right now it is set to that length. The moment I start moving this in, it means wherever I enter a new line, this is where the first line indent will happen. So I can move it back. Additionally, we also have the second part. This is for your left indent as well. You can also drag one at a time, not both. You can also drag just that one. So as you start to drag it, notice at the bottom of my page, we have some points that are starting to move. So if you look at this part, which is highlighted, as I drag my indent, even the text starts to move as well. So you can also easily manipulate all your text all together at once. There. And then we have your right indent as well. So you see the moment I start protruding, even the text now starts going beyond our grid line. So I'll undo that. Or you can set, although not allowed, usually when you are making your submissions, you have been given what space indents to work with. So if I drag my margins by making them smaller, it means that it looks like I'm adding small boxes. So meaning my surface area where I can manipulate text starts to increase as well. But usually go for the defaults. So I'm just simply clicking undo and undo. So we've opened up our document, we've clicked our ruler, we can see it. And then we move on to our next step. So we are going to select the paragraphs under acknowledgement, which is step number 6. And in the home tab, in the paragraph group, we are going to click the dialog box launcher and verify that the Indents and Spacing tab is active. So in the Indention section of this tab, change the special selection by clicking the drop-down arrow and selecting first line by the box list 0.5 inches by default as shown in the right. So we simply go back to our document. We go back to our home tab, which we are already there, and then move on to open our dialog box launcher within our paragraph group, which is this small one here. Then we've been asked to look at the indention. So under special, which is what we are looking for. So if you recall, step number 8, in the indention section of this tab, change the special selection by clicking the drop-down arrow and selecting first line. So that's what we are doing. So we are looking for a section called special and then changing it. So this is where we have our special. So right now it has been set to none. So we are going to select first line. And then by default, it has given 1.27 centimeters, which is equivalent to an inch. Yes, or half an inch, which is this one. So we move on to our next instruction. Click OK. The first line of each paragraph is indented 0.5 inches as displayed. Now we missed a step because we haven't selected the paragraphs. So if I click OK now, what will change will be the title. So in order for this indentation to happen, we first need to select all the paragraphs under acknowledgement. Where is acknowledgement? Ending. Just those 4 paragraphs. Now we can go back and change our settings to first line under special and then okay. So when you change that, you see that all your paragraphs are indented. And just by visually looking at this, I already know that this document isn't justified. So I'll quickly justify it like this so that it looks more pleasant to read. So we just simply choose your justification for alignment of paragraphs. So we've indented our paragraphs. So this is how you typically do it if you want to do it quickly. Then select the paragraphs under introduction on the horizontal ruler, press and hold the left mouse button and drag the first line indent to 0.5 inches. So we're now going to select the 4 paragraphs under introduction. So we have the introduction section here. So 4 paragraphs, which are these. Derek, hello? Please do not annotate the screen as we are going through the classes. Then on the horizontal ruler, press and hold the left mouse button and drag the first line indent to 0.5 inches. So now here at the top, so where we have the first one, I'm holding my mouse and then I'm just going to go to 0.5, which is roughly, where is 0.5? Okay, let's assume that is 0.5. Not sure if these are in inches or centimeters, but let's assume somewhere there. Yes. And that's how you would also do the exact same thing. Now I'm seeing some messages in the chat. So Lombe is asking, will the paragraph be indented with using the space button? Your sentence says yes, or lines will move. But in case you are using other special formatting options, you might lose those features as well. So rather use any of these 2 methods. This should adequately indent your paragraphs properly for you. Okay, we move on to the next instruction, which is instruction 13. Select all the paragraphs under the general performance exception guidelines. So I'll select those ones first. General performance exception guidelines. Select all the paragraphs. I'm just holding down with my mouse, left key, and then dragging it down up to there. And then instruction number 14 says, on the page layout tab in the paragraph group, launch the paragraph dialog box and change the special selection to first line by clicking the drop down arrow, then clicking OK. So we are going to go to the page layout tab. Oops, wrong one. So basically the same instructions. We're going to select first line and OK, the exact same thing. Then select both paragraphs under, which is step number 15, under the equal employment opportunity and diversity. Then right click and select paragraph. This is another way to open up the paragraph dialog box. So our two paragraphs, which are these final two. We're going to right click. And then this command here, which is paragraph, will also launch your paragraph dialog box. So for quick formatting, we just say okay, and our paragraphs are indented. Step number 17 is change the spatial selection to first line, click OK. Using the shortcut method, you can also access the paragraph dialog box. Save the document as B&B first line indent in the lesson folder in your flash or your hard disk. Any questions on indenting your work? So I've just saved it, but in your case, you are going to save it as a new name. Okay. We move on to step-by-step setting hanging indents. For this one, I will not do this step-by-step exercise so that you will go through it in your own time. So with this one, we are going to quickly skip this one because you won't typically use this option. The one that you use the most is using your paragraph dialog box launcher to at least indent your paragraphs together. Even setting left and right indents, maybe this one. Okay, now we'll need to have moved from our previous exercise, but we haven't done it. So I'll quickly go through it and see if there are any options or things that I can highlight. So for this one, we are going to use our document that's opened in our previous exercise. So we are going to select the paragraphs under introduction, and we are going to move the first line indent back to default settings. So launch the paragraph dialog box from the home tab under special group. We are going to select none and then okay. Then we are going to select the first two paragraphs under introduction and then click the paragraph, right click. Again, relaunch your paragraph settings, and then this time change the left and right indents to 1 inch by clicking the up arrow and okay. So I think for this one maybe might be more useful. So we can use that one. So under the acknowledgements part, we are going to remove these indents. So the easiest way to do that would be the dialog box launcher, and then from special, where we put first line, we are going to put it back to none, and then those ones disappear. Then if I want to specify my own indents under our indention here, rather than using the special one, we can now set our dimensions. And I think we said 1 inch. So 1 inch is roughly about 2 centimeters. So let's just arbitrarily put it to 2 and then I'll just type in this time and then say 2 as well. And then we can select okay. Now what this does is it will indent our paragraphs that we have selected 2 centimeters both ways. And you see that even where my ruler markers are have moved about 2 centimeters this way and that way. For whatever reason, if you need to indent your work in that way, but typically you are going to work within your allowable margins. You can also do this by simply clicking the paragraph group. We have another arrow that has indent, or rather a command that does indention for you. So what this simply means is if I put my cursor here in this line, I can click this to increase or decrease my indentation. So if I click it once, it will indent it to that much space. So if I want, I can click twice. And if I want it to go back, I would click it that way as well. Any questions? No questions? Great. You can also use the right indent to do the exact same thing. Typically, these right and left indents are especially useful when you are working with bullet points rather than your paragraphs. But if you need to, you have those options. Another way that you use those left and right indent options a lot are within your PowerPoint software, especially when you are making your PowerPoint presentations. We have another step-by-step exercise for setting negative indents. This is when you want to go beyond your allowable set parameter. My advice is that if you need more area, if you wanted more space to type in your information, just simply increase your or decrease your margin by either using the ruler here, or you're probably going to go to your layout tab, and in this margins command, you have different formatted predefined margins that you can use. So if you need narrow margins, you can click that one and you have more space now. Even the amount of words that fit on one line is more. Because if you look at the first line, you have the first line that ends with policies. So if I put it back to, let's say, normal or wide, policies now is slightly here in the middle. Or if I put it back to normal, we have policies showing up in the second line. So what you do is either use these ones, or you can also use a custom range and then enter your figures here. So if you really want to go very, very small, I think the smallest it can allow is about 0.5 on each side. And then you have a very, very small part. Now you have to be careful when using this option for setting your margins in this way, especially when you want more room, because what will happen is that sometimes the printers, if you are to print this document physically, sometimes the printers do not know how to read this section of your document. Maybe the printers have been configured to only start reading from here up to there, because they know that this side, I don't expect text. So be careful as you set your margins. So those are your negative indents. This allows you to move outside the parameters, or essentially wherever you see this gray ruler portion, this is the negative part. And wherever you see within this white, this means you are allowed to enter your content within these two parameters. And it even gives you your endpoint, which is here on your right for your right margin. And then it also gives you another endpoint for here on your left margin as well. So that's your step-by-step for changing and modifying your indents. So we've already looked at alignment. So let's quickly go through these notes. Changing alignment. Paragraph alignment refers to how text is positioned between the document margins. By default, text is left aligned at the top of the page. What this means is that whenever you are typing, text will always flow starting from your left, moving to your right, and it will be moving towards your left versus your right. Then we have what referred to as horizontal alignment, refers to how text is positioned between the left and right margins. There are 4 types of horizontal alignment. We have left aligned, meaning your text will move towards the left. And then we have center alignment, meaning the text will be positioned in such a way that it will try to find out exactly what is the center point to add our text or content, meaning the left and right should have equal bearings or equal margins. Then we have right alignment, meaning your text will be aligned to the right way. You see a straight line, or you justify it, meaning on both sides, the text is going to flow like a box, meaning the text to your right will fit everything to the left exactly, or it will try to squeeze in as much information between those two left and right margins. Horizontal alignment can be changed in your paragraph group and is accessible within the home tab and your page layout tab. So here, these are your alignment options. So if I was to ask you in the exam, can you draw the button that shows left align? You should be able to draw that button. The one that shows you justification or justify, you should be able to do that one, as well as center. So when the paragraph, when in the paragraph dialog box is open, we have indents and spacing active. You can also change alignment in the general section of the tab. Alternatively, you can use the shortcuts at the ribbon section within the group. So our first one is your left align. Where is my marker? Let me show, where is my marker? So yes, we have our first button, which is our left align. And you notice for the left align, we have text that runs straight to my left. But then when I look at my right portion of this button, the text is seemingly not really following a straight line. Then we have center. The center button has text centered in such a way that the information has got equal spacing from left to right. So this centers text between the left and right margins, leaving ragged edges on both sides. For the left align, we have a straight line to my left and the ragged edge will be on the right here. So this part here is the ragged edge, the fact that it's not straight. Then we have align right, which aligns it to my right, and the left is ragged. Then we have justified. This one will try to squeeze what they are calling flash text in between the margins, but both sides have got smooth lines and there are no ragged edges. And this is the preferred way of formatting your work because it makes your documents more readable. Someone saying something in the chat. So someone is complaining about network. The recordings will be made available. So you can simply catch up later on. So please know these buttons well because you use them, but also for your exams. So for people who are wondering, the exams will be face to face. There won't be an online exam. You are going to come main campus or you write from your centers like it was last semester, I believe, and you're going to write a physical exam. There won't be online. So vertical alignment refers to how text will be positioned from the top to bottom, versus vertical alignment will position text from left to right. So as you think of vertical and horizontal, you're just going to simply follow the same rules that apply. So horizontal typically looks at the horizon, meaning we are positioning our text left to right. For vertical, it's up and down, so top and down. So top of the page vertical alignment is default when launching Word. However, we have other vertical alignment options that we can use. We can center our text and then we can also align it to our bottom. So let's have a look at these commands and where they actually fit in before we move too far. So let's start with our horizontal alignment. So for alignment, we are going to find it within the home tab and within our paragraph group. So we find by default in our paragraph group that we have our horizontal alignment because these are the ones that you typically use. So starting from my left, we have align left. So when I select, let's say this paragraph and say align left, notice what happens. To your left, we have a straight line right within this gray area. And then to my right, we have this ragged edge appearing where you see these blocks. This is the ragged edge. And then if I select a different paragraph, the second one, and choose center alignment, the text will move in such a way that it will try to fit or flash the text in the middle as best as it can, but also ensuring that whatever is left on this side is equivalent to this side. So if you look at this word here at the bottom, therein, if you were to measure this accurately, you would find that the space from here to here between the margins are almost equivalent. So that's your center alignment. Then for our third one, let's pick right align. Now here, this one changes and we see the alignment happening to our left. So here, though not accurate in this case, we see that our alignment is towards the right and our ragged edge is here towards the left. And then finally, what we have for our last option is justify. So it will try to give the text an even distribution between your margins. So these are your alignment options. And the one that you should typically go for is your justify, because it makes reading so much easier. So these are your horizontal ones. Now we also have your vertical alignment options. So if you can click on your dialog box launcher, let's see if we can find these options. But I know these typically show up when you are looking at your tables. So alignment. So it's not showing here. Line breaks. Nope. So to see more of those options, let's quickly add a simple table so that we show vertical alignment. And then I will add some content here. So now when we create our table, if we go to our layout tab from our table tools, we have this group that is called alignment. Now this is where you see all the alignment options that you have to your disposal. So if I pick, let's say, this box here and highlight it and say align it to my bottom right. So this one will align text to the bottom right of that cell. So it will try its best to navigate whatever content I have to the bottom right. If I select this cell, for instance, and say I want it justified to my top center, it will try to do exact that. So if I move and make my cell a bit bigger, then this makes more sense. So if I select it again, I can also justify it to my center or to the bottom. Wait, I want my text to move to my, nope. So it's already centering itself there. But these are all your alignment options. Do we have any questions? You can raise up your hands. Raise up your hands if you've got a question and ask. Any questions? Okay, no questions, so we proceed. So now we know how to change our alignment. So we just go through the remaining notes. So we can justified vertical alignment aligns text evenly among the top and bottom, left and right margins. And we are going to see these options below. So top vertical alignment here at the bottom aligns text to the bottom. We have center will align between the two margins. Bottom vertical alignment will align towards the bottom, and justified vertical alignment will align your text equally amongst the top left, bottom, and right margins. So we've gone through different options on alignment. So we'll quickly go through this one and simply justify the text for all our paragraphs. So in the same file that we've opened, Books Beyond, we are going to select all the paragraphs under acknowledgement and set them to justified alignment, including those that are under introduction. And we have a pro tip. Notice that you can also achieve the exact same thing by using a shortcut, Control and J. This should also align everything using the justified method. Yes, there's a hand up. Lombe, we can go ahead and ask a question as I change the alignment. You can ask your question, unmute your mic and ask.
I've actually written something in the inbox for the messages which you are receiving, but unfortunately, you haven't read it.
You can talk.
And I wouldn't want, I'm having a network failure here, so that's the reason why I had to type in.
No, we can hear you, so now you can talk. Your network is fine now.
Okay. I was asking to say which one is the most recommendable alignment when dealing with Word, as in throughout the formatting of the Word.
Justify.
Justify.
That's the one I'm applying now.
Okay. Thank you.
As I'm applying this, there were certain indents that were applied to this, so it's looking a bit wonky. So let me remove our indents. There we go. Now it looks like a better document. Okay. Thomas, can you see the screen? All right, so that's how you change your alignment. Please always remember to set your alignment to justified, always. Typically, you use those other options when you are working within tables. That's typically the only, not the only, but most use case scenario where you would want to align things to your right, to your left, to the bottom or the center. Typically, that will be within tables and rarely within paragraphs. So we have more step-by-step exercises on changing alignment to right, changing the alignment to the center. So for the center, in this case, we've been asked to center most of our headings. Now, if you're not going to be using your paragraph styles, you are going to be using this option. So let's center some of our headings and leave them. So if in your case you want your heading, you can just center it. And as you hover over these options, you can see that the shortcut even shows up. For justify, it is Control J. For align right, it is Control R. For center, Control E. And then for left, it's Control and L. So for this next heading, I can also center it, as well as the introduction. You can center it and this. Now, typically, you are most likely going to be aligning your headings to the left, unless otherwise. Maybe if you're writing a new chapter heading, for instance, chapter 1, chapter 2, and the title of that chapter, maybe those are the ones that you typically align right. So that's how you center your headings. And you also go through the same steps to align your text to your right. You simply select the text or move the cursor into where that text is, and then click the left align button to align left, and the text will move. So these ones, very, very easy. So for this, for the vertical aligns, this is why I said you always need to go to the page layout tab from table tools or any other additional tools to see your vertical alignment options. And you can also apply this to an entire document at once or not, but at least you have the exercises to move through. So if you are following the exercises, this is what your document should relatively look like by the time you are getting to this portion of your exercise. Shading a paragraph. So we move on to applying some shading to a paragraph. So we can click the shading button in the paragraph group. We can also use a different color for shading and also remove the shading by clicking the no color. And we have more colors to open up our colors dialog box where additional options are available. So here we have a step-by-step exercise that allows us to apply shading to our paragraphs. So step number one is to obviously go to the paragraph group within the home tab, and then you are going to see something that looks like a bucket that is tipping over. So this will be your shading option. And then we have some predefined colors that you can use or select your own user-defined colors to shade your paragraph. So in this exercise, we've been asked to use orange accent 6 lighter 40% as shown below. Let's see if we can find that one. Okay. So let's select some paragraph. Let's assume we wanted to shade maybe this portion of my paragraph. So in your paragraph group, we have the shading command. So right now it is highlighting white. So this line here at the bottom currently shows you the active color that you're working with. So if I click that drop down arrow, I have some predefined colors that I can pick. And as I hover over some, like this one, purple, the color starts to change to that color, or these ones. These are the standard colors. So the one that we've been asked is orange, accent 6, 40%. I think that is the one. And that's how you change or select shading to your paragraphs. This is different from highlighting. So we have text color highlighting and we have shading, which is applied on a paragraph. So a good question is, what is the difference? Because it seems to achieve the exact same thing, because I can highlight this one, but use the shading command and choose yellow. So how will I know that this one was shading and then this one was highlighting? They both achieve the exact same thing. What is the difference? Okay, I think I'll also take note of that one for questions. Is it time up? Yes, it is. So that I do not inconvenience others that are going into a new class, the recording will be posted up on YouTube and the link will be shared. We shall resume our next lecture from where we left off, which is shading our paragraphs. Good day. No, I have a class myself.
Oh, madam, before you go,
Yes, quickly. Yes, you can quickly ask before I transition into my next class. Who was asking? There was someone who stopped me. Derek, when is the next lecture? You should have the lectures indicated on your timetable, but if not, I'll post a screenshot of my timetable so that you just take note of your sessions. But the next class for group A is on Wednesday.
I wanted to consult on the module. I mean, on the module, the schedules of class. Why isn't it posted that side?
The classes are already on the Eduro website. I can see my classes just fine. So unless they are just not reflecting on you. So that's why I'm saying I'll put a screenshot of my timetable. You as students need to fish out group A and group B from my other ICT courses.
All right, madam, thank you.
All right. All right, good day. I have another class I should be going into. We shall meet on Wednesday at 9 hours for group A.
Don't forget to say